Hello again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I have got a really easy yet lovely textured stitch. This is the knit waffle stitch. Now, I've done the crocheted waffle stitch in a bunch of other projects, and I thought, let's try it in knitting, shall we? So I found this and I couldn't wait to show you guys. And it is really quite simple. It is just a 4-row repeat. Very, very easy. It's just knits and purls. Very, very simple. And this is the right side, the front side, and the back actually, I think looks just as nice. And also it isn't very lacy or anything, so it is unisex, which is rather nice, and really quite simple. Now, for this particular piece, I used a worsted weight yarn and size 10.5 knitting needles. Today, I think I'm going to use the same weight of yarn, but size 10 of knitting needles. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right, so I'm going to use a long tail cast on. Going to do my little slip knot right on my needle there. And basically for the cast on, you just need a multiple of 3 stitches plus 1 stitch. So simple enough. So I'm going to do a bunch. So I've got 2 and 3. And that first slip knot does count as a actual stitch. Just keep that in mind. So I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm feeling lucky. All right, so I've got my multiple of 3 plus 1, and yeah, so we shall continue on. Alrighty. All right, row 1. Okay, now first things first, be sure that you're not working with the tail of yarn. Be sure that you're working with your working yarn. And I know I've said this before, but I've done it myself many a time. All right, so basically the repeat is to knit your first stitch and then purl the next 2. And then to the back because we need to knit the next one. So basically it's knit 1, purl 2, all the way across. So knit 1, and then purl 2, and knit 1, and then purl 2, and the first row is always the hardest because this doesn't have any sort of border to it. So the following rows will be a lot easier, believe you me. All right, so then we're almost to the end, so I need to still knit 1 and purl 2. Knit 1, and then purl 2, and then the very last stitch we knit. so that we've got a knit at the beginning and a knit at the end. Creates sort of like bookends, if you will. All right, now I know it doesn't look like much at the moment, but it will come into play. Don't worry. All right, onwards to row 2. All right, row 2. Okay, so for row 2, we are going to do the exact opposite of what we did on row 1. Now, basically, it was a matter of doing knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2. Well, we're going to purl 1, then knit 2. Now, purling for the first stitch, it can seem a little bit tricky, but basically you just need to work underneath the working yarn, okay? Because typically you would go like that, but it's easier, I find, if you're going underneath the working yarn, okay? And so we're just going to purl this first stitch, and then to the back so that we can knit the next 2. See, this row is going by a bit smoother. And then purl. It's because all of my stitches have been primed, if you will. And then knit the next 2. By the way, these needles are Addies, and I love Addies. I'm not sponsored, I'm not affiliated, but I do love the Addie knitting needles very, very much. And these actually were a present. Thank you, Russ. All right, and then knit the next 2. And then purl. And we're almost at the end. So we need to purl. Sorry, we need to knit 2, excuse me. We just purled. We need to knit 2 and then purl the last one because we purled the first one. So knit, and then knit, and then purl the last stitch. All right, so that is the end of the second row. Let me show you the right side. There we go. And yeah, it doesn't look ultra fabulous right now, but you can see how we have our knit stitches, one on top of the other, and our purls. Alrighty. All right, row 3 is sort of like a little vacation, if you will, because it is just knit stitches. It's my favorite stitch. All right, so very simple. Just knit every stitch all the way across. How easy is that? You know, I told you that this was a really easy pattern. I didn't lie. So you just work your way across, just knitting every stitch. Very, very simple. There we go. And then row 4 is just as easy because for row 4, all you have to do is purl all of your stitches. Very, very, very simple. So let me just get myself situated here. All right, so basically, again, what I like to do is I like to go underneath the working yarn. And we're just going to purl all these little guys. And for some reason, don't ask me why, but I always find that it's more difficult, for me anyway, to do purls than to do knits. I guess that's why I'm very partial to doing the garter stitch. No purls at all. All right. And so you're just working your way across doing purl stitches. Okie dokie. And that, folks, is the full 4-row repeat, believe it or not. Now, it doesn't look like much at the moment, but if you keep going, it'll definitely start to look like the actual waffle, because we have sort of an indentation here and here and here where we did have the purl bumps down here, and it's going to create a concavity. Let me show you. See, we have these concavities here and here and here. Well, when you do your next 2 rows, it's going to create another ridge. So it doesn't look like much now, but if you keep going, it will. So we're going to do another repeat. Alrighty. All right, so for row 1, once again, going to start by doing a knit stitch and then 2 purls. So it's knit and then purl, and purl, and then knit, and purl, and purl. And I gotta slide my stitches. They have a tendency of getting stuck sometimes. There we go. Okay, so then knit, purl, and purl, knit, purl, purl, and then knit the last stitch. Like so. And then for row 2, we're doing the exact opposite. Okay, so to do the opposite, start with the purl, going underneath the working yarn. So it's purl, knit, knit. So purl, just scooch that along. All right, so the knit, and knit, purl, knit, knit, purl, knit, knit, purl, knit, knit, and then purl the last stitch. Okay, and then for row 3, it's a little bit tricky with my camera, the way it's situated, and the cord for my circular needles. It's a little bit tricky, but I'm managing. All right, so then for row 3, just knit every stitch all the way across. And I'm sure that I didn't really need to do this repeat for you guys, but I like spending time with you, and I like knitting, so it's a win-win. And also the nice thing about this is that there are no increases, no decreases, no lace, no knit two togethers, and so on and so forth. It's just knits and purls, knits and purls. They're sort of like Legos. You can do a lot with them. And I rather like it. And also, this stitch does work up fairly fast because it is pretty straightforward. And every 2 rows, you get sort of a vacation because right now we just had our knit row. And now for row 4, we have a purl row. Okay. And I don't know if the cord hitting against the tripod is making a lot of clickety-clackety noise. I'm sorry if it is. All right, so then for the last row of the repeat, I'm going to go underneath the working yarn and then just purl all of your stitches. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, what I would recommend is perhaps doing your bind off when you reach the knit row, because typically you bind off using knit stitches. So that would be what I would recommend, as opposed to trying to do a knit bind off when you're doing knits and purls, for those of you that are curious about that. So when you reach row 3, do your bind off on row 3. Okay, and that is another repeated. Okay, so in just a small amount of time, look what we did. So you can really see how it is coming along. I think it's really a very nice stitch. Catches the shadow very nicely, and then on the back, it has a pretty groovy texture. Yeah. So listen, guys, I really hope that you like this tutorial. Um, Kind of simplistic, but I really like it, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And if you did like this, please give a little thumbs up button down below because I appreciate your appreciation. And I do try to post often, so hit subscribe because I post videos, whether they're crocheting or knitting, audiobook narration, or check out my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, where I do video game playthrough and commentary. It's a lot of fun, and I'd like to see you there too. So without further ado, I shall say until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.